Hello guys, Pyro Cynical here. It's not actually Pyro, in case you couldn't tell. I'm Dolan Dark. Today I'm filling in for Pyro because he's pissed off to Greece. So before you start chanting "We want Pyro" and banging the table, he's only gone for a week. You only have to deal with me for one day. Instead of a sarcastic British twat, you're going to get a sarcastic New Zealand twat. I'm sure you can survive. And yes, I'm using Pewdiepie Legend of the Brofist as the backing gameplay. Pyro said it was okay, so I hope you enjoy. Now, not a lot of you know this, but he's actually gone to Greece because he was offered a potential movie deal. I'm probably not supposed to tell you, but Michael Bay himself will actually be working with Pyro to create Shrek Has Swag 2 and MLG Teletubbies 2. I can't wait. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering what sort of accent I have, or you just don't give a shit and you think it sounds retarded. Well, my accent is a New Zealand accent. A lot of you probably don't know where New Zealand is. In fact, you probably haven't even heard of it before. You probably think it's this place in Skyrim or something. New Zealand is pretty much all the way on the other side of the world from where every other country is. So if I want to go to Europe or America, it'd probably cost me about $2,000. The closest country to me is Australia, and to be honest, who really wants to visit a country where everyone descended from criminals? But more on Australia later. So yeah, I'm probably going to spend the majority of this video talking about New Zealand and our significance, or should I say insignificance, in the world. Knowing Pyro is probably going to name this video the weirdest country in the entire universe, or something similar. Now, I haven't actually done a commentary video before, so please be gentle. If my mic sounds really bad, that's because it is. Do you remember the SingStar game for PlayStation 2? Yeah, it's one of those microphones. And I'll probably be using McDonald's Wi-Fi to upload this, as New Zealand's internet speed is about as efficient as a quadriplegic in a swimming race. Right, so anyway, this is New Zealand. A country that you think so little about that you didn't even realise that wasn't New Zealand. This is New Zealand. Whilst your country probably has many claims to fame, New Zealand doesn't really have that many. One of our claims to fame is a sport called rugby. We excel in it. And if you're from America, you probably weren't even aware of its existence. It's pretty much like American football, but we throw the ball backwards for some reason. Yep, one of our claims to fame is a sport that the majority of the world doesn't even know about. Nice. New Zealanders are often represented by the Kiwi Bird. It's essentially our national icon. In fact, the slang for a New Zealander is a Kiwi. Yeah. Our national animal is a flightless bird, possibly one of the most useless birds in existence, and the fact that it has managed to even survive this long is a miracle. One of the other animals we're known for are sheep, because there is an abundance of sheep in New Zealand. For every one person, I think there's about at least 10 sheep. In fact, New Zealanders, or Kiwis, are actually commonly referred to as sheep fuckers, which is something we share in common with the Welsh. I've no idea how the name started, but it's probably because some lonely farmer fucked a sheep back in 1789 and got caught, and now we're stuck with his mistake as our nickname. Nice one. New Zealand is also home to a very interesting Prime Minister. A Prime Minister, in case you aren't aware, is pretty much like a president of the country, but they do less. John Key, our Prime Minister, is pretty much like a dad who just wandered into Parliament one day and decided to get a job there. Been known for some weird shit in the past. The clip I showed you at the start with the handshake, that was our Prime Minister. That was essentially on live television in front of the whole of New Zealand when we won the Rugby World Cup. He's also been in trouble for pulling a waitress's ponytail on more than one occasion.
John Key has apologised to an Auckland waitress who says he behaved like a bully by repeatedly pulling her ponytail when he came to the place where she worked.
Now, there are actually several accounts for more than one waitress that this happened. When he was questioned about it, this was his response.
I realised she had actually taken offence because it was all in the context of a bit of banter that was going on.
A bit of banter. It doesn't really sound like a bit of banter, mate. It sounds like you've got a fucking ponytail fetish. Well, yes, I did punch the waitress in the face, but it was just a bit of banter. It's pretty much the New Zealand equivalent of it was just a prank, bro. Also, it should be worth noting that his son is an absolute twat. He actually goes to my university. He's a self-proclaimed DJ, and he released a song about 3 weeks ago, of which I'm 100% certain that he didn't actually make himself. Here's a small clip of this amazing, unique music video. I'm going to overlay the music with the sounds of a West African bullfrog, as his son is the sort of person who would copyright strike this video for using his song, even though it sounds like every other house song in existence. can see he pretty much blew the entirety of his budget on that car, and he probably paid for the girl as well. But somehow they are able to rent out the car, the girl, and even the club, but they can't actually get real lasers. They've literally just overlaid some lasers over the top of the music video. As you can guess, seeing the Prime Minister's son living it up doesn't really fly well with most New Zealanders. One of the other claims to fame New Zealand is known for is that the Lord of the Rings films were filmed here, so you can bet that we've milked the absolute fucking shit out of it. To give you an example of how insignificant we are, the guy that directed them was knighted by the Queen for making the films. For example of how we've milked it, you can visit Hobbiton, where the hobbits lived, and in our capital city's airport, the moment you walk off your plane, you're greeted by a giant fucking golem head. Nothing says welcome to New Zealand like a disembodied, deformed hobbit. New Zealand essentially runs on tourism, and is pretty much the only reason people come here. One of our main attractions is skydiving and bungee jumping. Bungee jumping is essentially where you jump off a bridge, but you don't die. People actually pay to jump off a bridge. A misconception about New Zealand is that we're actually full of tribes. I've met many Americans and Europeans who have actually been expecting everyone in New Zealand to be walking around with their faces painted and wearing a grass skirt. This isn't really the case, which is actually kind of sad when you think about it. People come here to expect us to be living off the land and hunting to survive, but in reality, all they really see is a bunch of middle-aged men in suits with weird accents. We do, however, have a rich culture. The indigenous people to our country, the Māori, actually dress like the picture I recently showed you, but only for special occasions. That's not their idea of a casual Friday. The Māori have their own language, and in my opinion, they're actually treated pretty well by the government. Looking at you, Australia. We're also home to one of the longest place names in the world, which is entirely in Māori. As many of you that own cats know, when a cat jumps on your keyboard, they type up an absolute hell of a mess. This looks like someone was typing up the place name and a fucking tiger jumped on their keyboard. I can't imagine anyone ever actually uses his name in a normal conversation.
Hey Bill, what's up? Are you doing anything tonight?
Oh yeah man, I'm going to a party.
Oh, whereabouts is that?
It's just up near Taumata Whakatangi hanga koa o Tamatia Turu Puka ka Pikimoanga Huru Nuki Pukai Whenua Kitana Tahu.
Oh. Can you repeat that?
Now, I should probably mention Australia again, as it is our neighbouring country, and we have a love-hate relationship with each other. We essentially just take the piss out of each other whenever we can. Australia is pretty much a bigger version of New Zealand, but it's filled with kangaroos and poisonous animals. Australians actually have to lock their doors at night because dingoes, an actual type of wild dog, have actually been known to steal babies and raise them as their own. When these children are eventually found, they have a very low IQ and are extremely noisy. They're also commonly referred to as bogans. If you're an American or a European or anything and you've heard of both New Zealand and Australia, you either think we sound the same or you think New Zealand is part of Australia. As both New Zealanders and Australians will attest, whilst we do sound similar, Australian accents are a lot whinier than a New Zealand accent. It's like if you took a New Zealand accent, pitched it up by 2 semitones, and then combined it with a police siren. We're also a lot more polite. Here's an example of how an interaction would go between 2 New Zealanders. Hey James, how are you doing today?
Good.
Oh, that's good. I'll see you later. And now here's an example of how an interaction between 2 Australians would differ.
How's it going, Kent? You got any fucking ciggies? Crikey, mate. No, I've got none. Fucking dingo got me baby, mate.
No, but in all honesty, I love Australia. Please don't sue me. Essentially, the main difference between New Zealand and an Australian accent is that New Zealanders use a U when we should use an I, and Australians use an E when they should use an I. For example, when we say the word fish and chips, it sounds like fish and chops. When an Australian says fish and chips, it sounds like fish and chips. And here's another problem with a New Zealander's accent. When I say the word Pepsi, you're probably hearing Pipsy. When I say deck of cards, you're probably hearing dick of cards.
If you're like me, you find it very hard to keep your dick dry. I left my dick unprotected and it was warped out of shape in no time. I could barely recognise my own dick. Imagine that.
But yeah, I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about my country. Probably not, but I don't actually do clickbait commentaries on my main channel. I generally make edits of some kind. So if you did enjoy this video, be sure to check me out. And if you didn't enjoy the video, be sure to check me out anyway, because I don't normally do commentaries.